show is sponsored by HiveMind CRM. It is more than just a CRM. It is a real estate and business mastermind that comes with an all-in-one CRM. You can have unlimited websites and users. You can call, text, RVM, and email all in one user interface. And you can set up custom automations for any type and multiple businesses. 65% of companies start using a CRM system within the first 5 years of business. Once implemented, the HiveMind will save you on marketing, give you more time, and make more money. One of our users had his first $100,000 month using our system in June. We want to see you automate and accelerate your business. Text us at 210-972-1842 for future meetings, and of course to get our $1 course on how to make more than 6 figures on one land deal. You can schedule your free demo today at hivemindcrm.io.
Hey, welcome to today's show. I have a special guest, James Brown. We're going to talk about real estate and lease options. I hope you stay tuned to the end because some stuff is not always said at the beginning of the episode, and you always love to listen to the whole episode. And I hope you get some value today. So today we have James Brown. First, where are you in the world? Because sometimes we talk to people in Canada, sometimes people in other countries. Are you U.S. based, 100%?
Yep. Based in Colorado, but we can work in any state really. So I love it here.
Okay, awesome. I'm actually going to Colorado in like 2 weeks. 2 weeks from or so, end of the month. I'm going to Colorado, so I'm going to Denver. So I'm excited about that.
Nice.
So, how long you been in real estate, and how'd you end up in real estate? Is my second question I usually ask.
Let's see. It was about 5 years ago. I started like diving in deep. I got serious about investing, and just kind of went down the rabbit hole. I was just looking at a way to supplement my graphic design business income, and by the traditional way of just buying a rental one at a time. And I realized there's a lot of other ways to make money. Kind of landed where we're at now, although still looking at a lot of different things. But yeah, we can get into all that for sure.
We talked to a lot of people, and everybody's like, the Burr method is the only way to do real estate. And then you talk to like everybody's like in their own niche, and it's like there's one way.
Totally.
So 5 years in real estate. Are you strictly in Colorado, or are you doing stuff nationwide?
Yeah, nationwide. Trying to stay focused on most stuff here in Colorado because I'm here and I'm licensed as an agent as well. So there's benefit to me being able to, control things and help directly without relying on a bunch of different people, but I can still make that work. In fact, most of our lease option deals have been out of state. Just because we're networking with people all over the country.
Yeah, I usually don't interview very many agents, but I have friends that are agent investors, and they're like, I'm an agent because I don't want to deal with agents, so I do my own stuff. That's my agent duties. So I went to like a meetup recently with him, and I'm like, and who here is an agent? I'm like, he's an agent. He's like, no, I'm not an agent. Don't tell anybody I'm an agent.
What's funny is like you go Google real estate agents are and let it autofill. It is not good. People just have a horrible opinion of agents in general. So yeah, I can see that.
It's fun messing with investor agents because they're like, don't tell anybody I'm an agent, but I'm an agent. He's an agent, everybody.
Calling you out, you slimy dog. Yeah,
it's pretty funny. I like messing with people, especially when they don't like that part of it. I understand it, but I'm still gonna mess.
Well, I got licensed for multiple reasons. Just general knowledge, a baseline knowledge of how things freaking work. But then it helps me to be able to put deals together and represent clients. So it was kind of a byproduct of investing to start. So, but it's opened up other opportunities to help people buy and sell, primary residences as well as investors, just with regular rentals as well. So,
gotcha. So, 5 years in the business. How big is your team now? as far as operating and managing all lease options?
My partner Toby Hansen and I are the main owners of Real Home Solutions. Um, we've got a network of other people in different markets with similar um, businesses set up, and so we all kind of work together. If we've got a tenant buyer or an investor or lacking one or the other, we can kind of mix and match and help each other. So
Okay.
yeah,
So let's kind of dive down. What is a lease option for those who don't know? What is a lease option?
it's a lease with the option to buy in the end. So rent to own, basically.
Rent to own. Okay.
Yep.
So it's a rent to own contract. Are you working with sellers directly on the front end? You're working with agents? Like what's that front end process look like to find those deals?
So we're reverse engineering. So instead of having the property and working with a seller and then going and finding somebody that's a perfect fit for that house that wants and needs to rent own, we do it the other way around. We find tenant buyers that can't get qualified that have a good chance of buying in the future, and then we match them up with an investor, um, and let the tenant buyer go pick out a house on the market. Or if it works out, we can, if we have an off market property that matches what they're looking for, that works too. So
So you find your lease buyer on the end. Are you doing subject to? Are you doing like you have your own financing in place and just owner financing them from there, or how's that look?
it's basically like seller financing. So the investor that can get a loan buys it. Um, some will pay cash up front if they've got enough to buy outright.
Yeah.
Um, but most put financing on it like a regular rental. So they're leveraging their ability. So that gives them the ability to buy, do more than one at a time.
Uh,
Um, so they've got their loan, and then they've got a lease with their renter, until that renter can exercise their option and buy it.
so what benefit is does it give the I know the answer to this, but what benefit does it give an investor to get a loan and essentially owner finance it to another end buyer? What benefit does it bring them? Because like if they have the property, they already bought it cash, or they can get financing for it. Why not keep it as a rental, or why not sell it cash on the market?
Well, so some investors will do both a regular rental, hold it long term, and do these. This is kind of a way to accelerate how much you're making, and then maybe do two or three of these, build up some cash, and then go and buy a rental and hold that. Um, but most investors just want to do multiple ones at a time, and then when the renter ends up buying, they're hungry for another one. But like, to get into some of the benefits, like up front, we're looking for people that have around 10% or more, sometimes up to 20% to put down. That changes the whole ball game. Compare that to like a renter who's got a small security deposit. They don't have any plan of buying the place, so they don't have any vested interest in it, really. They've got this renter's mindset, and they're going to be calling, when a toilet's running, or those kind of things, that a regular renter puts you through as a landlord. In this case, they're putting significant money down with the intention of buying. So they've got that owner's mindset. They've gotten to pick out the house, and that money actually goes directly to the investor. Part of it gets kicked back to us for putting the deal together, but they've got this big chunk of money up front. So what's beautiful about that is it's insurance, because it's non-refundable if the buyer backs out. We set this up so that's highly unlikely. Like, the rent-own business has been given a bad name by operators that either intentionally or unintentionally put people in a bad position. And We do not want that to happen. So just to kind of back up a little bit, the main thing we do is screen them really well, figure out, where they are now, what it's going to take for them to get qualified. And we work directly with a lender because the lender is going to give them the loan in the future, right?
Yeah.
So once we've gotten together as a team, we all know what the game plan is. Then we go looking for houses.
You set them up with a lender on the front end, so that way they already know they can possibly refinance in the future, so you're not setting people up for failure.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the key. That's the key. The other big rent-to-own companies don't do that. They kind of leave it up to the tenant buyer. And to their, some people are like really eager. They want to get in a house, and maybe that's not the best scenario for them. So, and it's not for a lot of people,
Yeah.
so
So how much are you asking down as far as like percentage of the property value? Is it going to vary depending on how much the seller has to put down? How does that front end look as far as how much they're going to put down?
yeah. So we look for 10% minimum. We can, depending on how much they pay per month and how much they agree to buy it for in the future, we kind of move those numbers around. But we look for 10%. Sometimes people have more. And what's beautiful about that for the investor is normally, you get an investment property, you have to put down 20% minimum, right? If the tenant buyer is putting down 10, you're putting down half the amount that you normally would, which allows you as an investor to go do like two of these at a time, which most do.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, if they put down 15 or 20%, that's even less that you have to put down as an investor.
So I know some people that do lease options, they do like different variations of this where all the payments they make, they credit the buyer on an amortization schedule. They just raise the interest rate, and some they give them the option to buy, and they essentially pay rent with the down payment with the option to buy. What kind of ways are you guys formulating that?
Well, so when you're talking rent credits, it wouldn't be the full amount. It'd be what rent credits are is like if you're not getting 10% down. So, well, let me back up. 10% down, I like that number because when they go to get their loan, they've got 10% waiting for them to use.
They have an equity, yeah.
Yeah, well, they can use, say they get a loan for 5% down.
Okay.
They've got like 5% of that 10 goes to the down payment. Then they're gonna have closing costs, so that it should cover that plus a little extra equity. That's why we can kind of back off. But they've already prepaid that amount. With rent credits, that's like the other programs where they get 1% down, say. So that buyer is going to have to save up along the way so that they've got that down payment and enough for closing costs. In this case, we're getting up front, but we could do rent credits if we took less down. In fact, it's kind of a forced savings plan, just so that that tenant buyer is putting that money away, so they don't hit the end of that option period and go, "Oh, I can't get a loan," and
It's all
that way we don't want them
just
to give up their money. Like that's not a good situation for anybody.
gotcha. So you're hooking up with the lender on the back end. The and like I said, I want people to understand this on the investor side. So the investor side is getting a down payment for the property and essentially collecting cash flow as well, just like a renter, but they're not dealing with renter problems like management. And the reason why I say this because my second deal I did was a lease option. Never did a lease option before. Before that, I did a lease option to end buyer, and I negotiated some good terms on my side where they didn't necessarily have the full down payment up front, but they gave me a large sum, and then they gave me large sums a month for like the first 6 months to give me
Mhm.
that full down payment that I was requiring. And then he's been living in that property for 2 years now. So it's one of those things where like I understand the basics of it. I'm just trying to make people understand the benefits on the back end. The benefit on the back end is too is taxes because you're technically still the owner because you're probably doing some type of contract for deed type thing, right?
can't do that in Colorado, but I know, Jesse, our partner in Minnesota, he does quite a few of those, with some guys that have like a small fund that they're using. So yeah, there's two ways to do that: contract for deed or a lease option. We've been exclusively doing lease options.
So the lease option gives the seller essentially a long-term rental because most renters they like staying in one place for a long time anyway without rent increases. So for them, are you installing rent increases with their long-term balloon essentially? And what's the terms on the balloon for the lease option?
Well, yeah, it depends. I mean, we've done just a straight rent where it doesn't increase over the 1, 2, or 3 years. Most of these are 1 to 3 years, and actually 12 months in a day or more, because if they buy within 12 months and one day, investor gets hit with short-term capital gains,
Yeah,
like a flip. So we don't want that to happen. And most tenant buyers need that are going
well,
to do this are going to need that amount of time anyway. So
yeah,
um, yeah, but yeah, most of them we just have it go up like $50 a month. Something similar to what normal rent would go up.
gotcha. So investor buys a property or they get financing for property, refinance a property, essentially pull their equity out. They can essentially lease or lease owner finance it to an end buyer. They get a down payment, cash flow per month, and then at the end of the term, they get some type of payoff spread in between the agreed amount price at that time. And you make that agreed upon price on the front end, right? Of
Yeah.
what the is going to pay it for. Do
Hmm.
you put a increase on it on the end of what it potential? Let's say the ARV on it is 250, you might sell it for 280 or 300,000, just because it might take them 3 years to buy it, and you're essentially doing a forced appreciation on the front end.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Denver market's been going up 18% a year. And of course, things are going to be flattening here. So we've been doing like 6%. Um, Investors still doing well. And that gives the tenant buyer some room, if things come down, that there's still value in the house. So,
Yeah,
and
because
then,
that's the big thing is like if you oversell the house and the value doesn't reach up to that point, they're essentially negative. They're upside down on their property, which you don't
right.
want.
Yeah, we
But
don't want that to happen.
you don't want that to happen because then they'll feel like what's the legalities of it? Because essentially, that I'm sure it's happened. I haven't heard any personal stories of that, but if they sell the house owner finance, they still oversold too much, potentially upside down. The owner finance buyer put down $20,000, and they're wanting to sue because they felt they were wronged by the investor or the mediator for the investor at that point. What's the way to like mitigate that risk?
Well, I mean, things are flexible. Like if we just want to extend the option period, that's one way, and let the market kind of come back. You know, get an appraisal on it and see where it is. No one wants to have to come up with extra money to make that work. So
If you renegotiate the extension, are you asking for another down payment, or how does that look? Because sometimes people need longer and they're willing to renegotiate that down payment again.
right, yeah, we haven't had to do that, and but we do have in our most recent contracts we'll do like 2 years with a third, and they it's kind of up to the investor what they want to do. They could extend it for free. Most investors are happy to just keep cash flowing, so they don't want to ruin that. But we have put it in there where if they do need and want to go into like a third year, they pay like 1% of the purchase price, um, for the privilege of extending that, so they don't lose their money. So most people will be very happy to protect their money by just paying that fee to extend it.
Yeah, and like for everybody listening to this, like I did my first lease option deal. I've talked to my tenant maybe twice in like 2.5 years. Like I just haven't talked to him. Money comes in on time. He doesn't call me if issues happen. I don't even know what's up with the house. It's one of those things where like it's like a set it and forget it type thing. And is that your same experience you're seeing on your end? Since you do a lot more of these than I do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, if you're an out-of-state investor, you're gonna have to pay 8-10% for a property manager. This, you don't have to do that. Like you said, you might get a call once or twice a year. So you're saving that money if it's out of state, or the headaches of doing it yourself. So that's a huge benefit, especially tired landlords that have been through this and are getting calls. They're like, like, people want to throw their hands up and just get out of the business. Where something like this, like, it's so much easier.
Yeah, it's a creating opportunity that's not necessarily there. Just having the availability to give it. How are you collecting payments as far as because we do a lot of land and people are like, oh, how do you keep track of amortization schedules and payments and all that stuff? How are you collecting payments on the investor side? Because technically you're self managing your property because you're not paying that management fee.
Yeah, everybody's using different stuff. You know, I know a lot of people like cozy.co, which is now, I think it's all wrapped into apartments.com. Some just get it direct through Venmo. So, and there's a lot of different ones out there, but since we're not really involved in that, we don't have like a system like, hey, use this, like forcing anybody into it. So, what have you used that you like that I could recommend?
It's one of those things where like you're gonna get varying options. A lot of people they use different. I forget the ones people use for land. But some people they just mail a check, and we don't have any problem with that. It's usually based on the customer. We try not to force the client down a certain path unless they prove themselves untrustworthy, or we have to like automate it in some way. But so for us, we're always like, you can send a check, you can send cash, kind of figure it out your own way, and we'll deal with that way. And then if that doesn't work, we'll we'll force them down some force thing. I'm sure it gets crazier as you have more and more clients. So on your side, you're mostly setting it up for them, and they deal with it after that front end transaction of you finding them a end buyer potentially, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and we're always here. Like, if something comes up, or like have a question or need us to jump in, do anything, like, we're there, all the way through to the end.
So one thing I've heard a lot of is that sometimes the benefit it's not necessarily a good benefit, but it's a benefit that happens. Is that sometimes people will terminate their agreement for the option to buy your property, and then they just move out, and you sell it again. Has that happened a lot, where people just cancel their option?
That hasn't happened with Toby and I, and I know, like, Jesse, for instance, he's had it happen a couple times. But most people, the way this is set up, when you're getting that much money up front, you're going through with the lender and letting them pick the property. Over 80-85% do close. So we don't want that to happen, but it can. So
Gotcha. I think it's one of the cool things that you're doing is that you're working with the lender up front, so your majority of your end buyers are going to come through and finance the property. As long as
yeah,
as long as they have their W-2 income that doesn't go away, they have still the ability to close, get the financing in place. And what's preventing them from getting the financing in the first place? What makes them qualified to go through your owner finance process versus going through a traditional lender?
there's a lot of different reasons. I mean, all it takes is one checkbox that they can't tick, that for them not to get it. Most, like, a good fit for this is self-employed people that maybe
Okay,
were writing way too much off. They just weren't claiming enough income, and they need to flip the switch on that for a couple years, or they're just new as a business owner or 1099. They need the time. I like that the best. Like, it's just time. They don't have to fix anything like credit, and credit can be myriad amount of things that could be wrong. And so if they do have credit issues and just need to get that up, we'll get them. Most lenders have a good idea of what they need to do. If we need to bring in a credit repair specialist to help them, we've got some good credit repair people. So once we know, where they're at, what it's going to take, and how long, then we can move on from there.
gotcha. What I like about it is you're providing a niche product to the marketplace that is needed because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that don't necessarily have the 2 years of income to even qualify for a mortgage. so they're kind of stuck in limbo. And I think it's another point too, is that a lot of people, entrepreneurs, they get stuck in limbo because they don't have 2 years of income or tax statements to even prove that they do have income. So it's one of those things where, like, once you're an entrepreneur, you really have to face a lot more battles, and a lot of people don't have the information or know how to even face those battles themselves. So they're stuck renting for a long time. So I think it's a definitely a good service you provide to the community in general. Do you network with a lot of realtors? I'm sure.
Yeah, another reason why I got licensed is to network with other realtors and lenders, because lenders and agents were all in the business day in and day out and running across people. So yeah, I'm always putting the word out to them. That last question I answered, like, who is this good for? Let them know who to look for, and then they can come back to me, and we can all work together. It's cool because we're all winning. The lender gets a loan closed up front with an investor, and then in the future with the tenant buyer. So that's 2 loans for the investor. Yeah, the tenant buyer's winning, we're winning, the investor's winning. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's creating win-win opportunities. So how are you finding the investors on the other side to get, because I understand finding the end buyer is going to be easier because referrals and marketing in general get the end buyers, but the investors that want to do this, is like a plethora of investors that want to owner finance properties, or retired landlords that already own properties just want to owner finance them at that point. You're looking for like portfolio owners and stuff like that.
Yeah, we can do it like the traditional way. If they've got a portfolio or just one property, they want to sell it off, we can do that. We can do it the reverse, and then that opens up to pretty much any investor. It's good fit for tired landlords that are just, tired, that like this model, and also busy professionals. They've got money, they've got good W-2 jobs and the ability to go get loans, but they don't have the time to property manage or figure out this business and, go find tenant buyers and set up contracts. It's, they just want to, do their job, go spend the weekends with their kids and whatnot, not have to create a whole business, box, so we do that. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
What is a quote that is yours or somebody else's that you resonate with?
I can't think of one. You got a good one for me? That
Do your best. Have integrity. Your name is untarnished till it's not. There's a lot of quotes that are out there. I've heard some really good ones because I always ask that question. And people usually have good ones. So now that you've heard a few, do you have
yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't come up with one. Yeah, you caught me.
I got you. That's what happens. Where can people find you online? What's your website? How people get a hold of you? What's the best way to go down this path with you to create opportunity?
Yeah, hybridrealestateinvesting.com is our investor site. I can send you the link with our landing page so they can watch a video. We've got a 17-minute video that walks through this, and I'm sure we missed some stuff along the way on this podcast. So that's good to watch, and then reach out and we can answer any questions. There's always going to be questions because there's moving parts, and it's kind of different for most people, unless they've actually done this.
A lot of variables for sure, and a lot of unknown questions that you don't even know how to answer.
Yeah, especially for a new investor that's not even had a rental,
Yeah, I gotcha. All right, hybridrealestate.com. Definitely go check it out. James,
hybridrealestateinvesting.com.
The link will be in the bio because I said it wrong. Hybridrealestateinvesting.com. We'll make sure everybody has it.
The show is sponsored by The List Guys. Do you need more leads in your local or virtual market? 1 in 10 small businesses don't invest in any kind of marketing. The List Guys have over 35 plus list types to choose from, and you can mix and match any list or criteria. We also use the skip trace list and provide up to 7 numbers and email addresses. Every list you purchase will be scrubbed against previous purchases. The List Guys are here to save you time. Contact the List Guys today at www.onelistguys.com. That's www.1listguys.com.
Thanks for your time, James. I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for giving up your time, and I hope people learn something new, because there's always value in there. You just have to extract it in some way. Thanks for coming on. Have a great day.
Hey, thanks.